Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Sunday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Well, I was on here earlier today and I said that I'd be back sometime later on discussing some college football. For all you NFL fans out there, I was trying to let all the 4 o'clock games come to an end and then be done before the 8:30 game starts. That way I'm not hindering your NFL watching experience. I talked a little college football earlier today, but I did want to do a whole entire video focusing on all the somewhat important or relevant games from week number 6. And the reason why I say somewhat is because there just wasn't a lot of great games on this weekend. Good evening, Kevron. Glad to have you here, as always. So we'll talk about the games that are somewhat relevant, but last weekend was a great weekend. Next weekend is going to be a great weekend, and then sandwiched right in the middle was not a garbage weekend, because if you're a college football fan, there's no such thing as a garbage weekend, but there just wasn't a lot of eye-popping games on the schedule yesterday. But coming up later on this week, we're going to talk about the new AP poll, which of course came out earlier today. We're also going to talk about where I'll be refereeing at next weekend. 2 shows next weekend. We're also going to be talking about the NFL games from today. We're also going to talk a little bit about the WWE Premium Live event that's coming up. And coming up in this week's Top 10 Countdown, are we going to go back to talking some Halloween? Stay tuned for that. But for right now, let's talk some college football. Now, I said this in a video last week, but I'll say it again. You can put them in whatever order you want to put them in. But to me, the best 4 teams in the country as of right now are Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, and Texas Tech. And it's not close. Now, if none of those teams were to lose between now and the end of October, when our first playoff poll comes out, those will be the top 4 teams in which they should be. I personally think Ohio State is number 1, but if you want to try to convince me that it's one of the other 3, it doesn't matter. But whatever order you would like, if this was still a 14 playoff, as of right now, your 4 playoff teams would clearly be Ohio State, Oregon, Miami, and Texas Tech. Those are the best 4 teams in the country, and it's not close. You can watch one game of all the teams and figure that out pretty quickly. Ohio State demolishes Minnesota 42-3. Now, Ohio State's defense was awesome last year, and I wasn't sold on Matt Patricia. That was one hire that Ryan Day made that I was like, I just don't know about that. But so far, Ryan Day's proved me wrong, because Matt Patricia's been great with the Buckeye defense. And when the season started, their offense was kind of slow, but that's because you lost Judkins and Henderson. And when you lose 2 running backs like that, you're going to struggle running the ball. But as the season has progressed, their offense has gotten a little bit better. But as good as their defense is, if they score 21 points a game, I don't know if they lose. Now, people always say defense wins championships. That's hot garbage, because if you can't score, then your defense being great doesn't matter unless they score for you, because they're not going to pitch a shutout every week. You're going to have to score. And in Ohio State's case, 21-24 is probably going to win every game they play. Miami defeats Florida State 28-22. Now, just like earlier in the season when Miami played Notre Dame and they got that big lead and let the Irish come back late. That was almost the case last night. This game was 28-3 Miami in the fourth quarter. Looked like they kind of just ran through the motions, thought, okay, this game's over with, and they almost let the Seminoles come back. But Miami is really, really good. And I've said this many a times, but I think they have the best offensive line in the country. Hey there, BR14. Glad to have you back. Hey there, Jessica. Glad to have you here. And hey there, Matt. Glad to have you here. And Jessica and Matt, I think it's the first time I've seen y'all's names in the comment section, as well as Tom. Tom, glad to have you here. If it is y'all's first time here for whatever reason made you stop by the channel, I greatly appreciate it. Feel free to give the video a like, a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so, and tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. And hey there, Saha. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If not, I apologize. Glad to have you here as well. And if y'all are college football fans, you picked a great time to come by the channel because I'm talking some college football. And thank you for subscribing, Matt. I really appreciate that. And have a good day. Glad to have you here. In a game that some people thought would be close, I wasn't one of them. Texas A&M defeated Mississippi State 31-9. Now, I know Mississippi State pulled off that upset over Arizona State. I think it was week 2, I believe. And Mississippi State definitely looks better than they did last year. But Texas A&M has a really good defense. And all they had to do was play a somewhat decent offense and win the game pretty easily. And that's what happened. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. And thank you for subscribing, Saha. Thank you. Appreciate that a whole lot. I love to see new viewers and new subscribers here on the channel. And thank you, BR14. I really appreciate that. I do it because I do not make any money doing this. But I love sports. And my wife doesn't watch sports. So I don't get to talk sports a lot around the house. Because, she'll listen. But, she really can't give any input because she knows nothing about sports of any kind. So I really can't talk sports with her. And that's really the only chance I have of talking sports because I stay so busy that she's the only person I talk to, on a regular basis. And thank you for subscribing, Tom. I appreciate that. And Matt, if you like sports, you found the right channel to come to. But I stay so busy that it's hard sometimes to post every day. And that's why I'm doing 2 videos today because I didn't get to do one Friday or Saturday. Hey there, Hardy. Glad to have you here. But I try. But between covering high school football and high school basketball for a local radio station and working a full-time job and being a professional wrestling referee and having 3 kids at home and being very active church members, I stay very busy. I think I did say your name. I called you Saha, and if that's incorrect, I apologize. Maybe it's Saja, but I was assuming it was pronounced Saha, and if I'm incorrect, I apologize. Hardy, today's your birthday. Well, congratulations. Happy birthday to you, wherever you are. I hope you have enjoyed your birthday. Hopefully, this is the most prosperous year of your life, and all the best wishes for the next year, Hardy, and thank you for stopping by. Now we have a huge upset with Penn State falling to UCLA. Hey there, Ethan. Glad to have you here. Penn State still a really good football team, but UCLA was previously 0-4. So, Penn State better hope that UCLA turns their program around because if UCLA ends up going 3-9 or 2-10, then this is going to be a really bad loss for Penn State. But, Penn State's known for their defense, and the one time they need a defense, the defense lets them down against awful, pitiful, really bad, horrendous UCLA. And Matt, even if you were serious, you would have no way to send me the money. But I do appreciate you at least offering. But even if you were being serious, there's just no way you could do that. But I do appreciate the offer, nevertheless. And Africa, NBA starts in 2 weeks. The NBA season to me is about 97 years too long. It needs to start around Christmas and end in June. There's no reason that it should take 8 months to play 80 games of basketball. That's ridiculous. But I miss the old NBA back when you could actually play basketball, and back when the players went out there and played and didn't whine all the time, and back when there was a such thing as traveling. I'm really not sure why it's even part of a rules violation now, because it never gets called anymore. But I still do follow it and I still watch it, but I really don't tune in on a regular basis until around April, because anything before that really is irrelevant. But Africa, I'm still kind of mad about the new rule they said a couple of weeks ago that they're no longer going to count it against the player. If you take a half-court shot and you miss it, then it won't go down as a missed shot, and that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's the same thing to me as a quarterback. When you throw the pass, if it's caught, it's completion, but if it's incomplete, it doesn't count against you. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. If a half-court shot doesn't count, if you miss it, then it shouldn't count if you make it. And BR14, again, glad to have you here. Florida defeats Texas 29-21. I don't know if I've ever seen a coach like Billy Napier. You know, Billy Napier just cannot seem to get on the winning side at Florida. But it seems like every time you hear all these rumors about him being fired, it seems like, okay, if he doesn't win this weekend, he's done. He goes out and wins. But any other time, he can't win. In Africa, that I know they have rules in every sport, but that's just the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And it's all because last year you had too many players have the ball late in the quarter and have a chance to throw up a three-quarter shot or half-court shot, or back in my day we called it the old heave-ho, but they don't want to because, oh, it counts against me if I miss it, so now it doesn't count against you. That is stupid. If you're scared to miss a shot, don't play basketball. That's like a field goal kicker. If you kick a field goal and you make it, it counts for you. But if you miss the field goal, it doesn't count against you. If you're a baseball player and you're the pitcher, you throw strikes, it's a strike. But if it's a ball, we just won't count it. We're only going to count strikes. That's the equivalent of them counting a half-court shot when you make it, but it don't count against you when you miss it. That is absolutely stupid. Alabama defeats Vanderbilt 30-14. Texas Tech all over Houston 35-11. Georgia, just like I figured, would beat Kentucky 35-14. I think if we put UCLA, Kentucky, Oklahoma State, and Northwestern in a 4-team tournament to see who is the best or the worst team, that'd be a pretty good tournament. Hey there, Prod. Glad to have you here. Allow gribbling during game break. I'm not sure what gribbling means. Maybe it's a new slang term that I'm lost on. And BR14, I see you're a Georgia fan. That's perfectly okay. I have a lot of Georgia fans here on the channel. They'd probably appreciate you being on here as well. But I talked about all the games yesterday, I think Thursday or Friday, and I said that I thought Georgia would destroy Kentucky because Kentucky's flat out awful. And if Mark Stoops doesn't get fired this year, there's a problem. Kentucky has slowly been on the downfall for the last 2 or 3 years, but this year they look lost. I mean, they look absolutely lost, like they have no idea what football even is. Cincinnati hands Iowa State their first loss of the season. Get out to a big lead, but they hold on 38-30. Michigan defeats Wisconsin 24-10. Notre Dame dominates Boise State 28-7. Illinois defeats Purdue 43-27. Virginia wins again in overtime over Louisville 30-27. And yes, they are BR 1-4. They're the first team that's bowl eligible because they have not had an off week yet. So they've played 6 games, and most teams have only played 5 games. And Memphis is 6-0. And I've said from week 1 that Memphis has a pretty good shot at being this year's group of 5 team to make the playoffs. And the way it's looking now, that might just happen. They're one of those teams that pretty much wins 9 or 10 games every year, but never gets talked about, and they're heading down that same path again. This year, Clemson all over North Carolina, 38-10. You could probably put North Carolina in that same category with Kentucky and UCLA and Northwestern and Oklahoma State as being the worst Power 4 team because they are absolutely hideous. I mean, I thought they'd be bad because Mac Brown left them with nothing, and Bill Belichick is probably the most overrated coach of all time with no college coaching experience. But if you look at their roster, North Carolina is absolute garbage. So that game was pretty much over in the first quarter. If they wanted to, Clemson could have scored 100, but what's the point? They scored 28 in the first quarter, and the game was already over with because North Carolina cannot move the football. Max Johnson has a rubber arm. He can't throw it more than about 12 yards. And when Gio Lopez plays, he's got a strong arm, but he turns it over. So it's either play a good quarterback that just can't throw the ball downfield because his arm ain't strong enough, or it's play the quarterback that can't throw the ball downfield, but he's going to throw 3-4 picks a game. North Carolina's in a lot of trouble. Baylor comes from behind, defeats Kansas State by 1 point, 35-34. And Tom, feel free to stick around until we get done, but if you do leave, please come back some other time. Navy defeats Air Force 34-31. Wake Forest defeats Virginia Tech 30-24. Washington over Maryland 24-20. Appalachian State defeats Oregon State 27-23. And BR14, if you're asking about football, then as I said earlier in the video, I think the best team is Ohio State. And it's not because they won the national championship last year. I'm not one of those people that ranks you based on your past because to me the past means nothing when it comes to the current season. And Ohio State has the most dominant defense I've seen. And they've got an offense that just does not turn the ball over. And when you have an offense that does not turn the ball over and a defense that does not allow many points to be scored, then to me that makes you a pretty dominant football team. So I think as of right now, October the 5th, 2025, the best team in America is Ohio State. SMU defeats Syracuse 31-18. Nebraska over Michigan State 38-27. Arkansas State defeats Texas State 31-30. Yeah, they have the best 2 players in the country, the best player on defense in the country and the best player on offense in the country. So when you've already got a great defense and a good offense and a phenomenal head coach, and then you have an offense that does not turn the ball over, and a defense that's probably going to be top 5 in the country, and then you have the best player on offense in the country and the best player on defense in the country, then you're going to be tough to beat. But the funny thing about that Arkansas State-Texas State game was that game was 10-10 at halftime. Oh, Jeremiah Smith is loads better than Ryan Williams. To me, Ryan Williams shouldn't even go in the NFL first round. When Ryan Williams got to Alabama, he had about 3 or 4 good games, and he ain't done a hill of beans ever since. And he might as well just get off the football field because he makes no impact whatsoever. This game was 10-10 at halftime, and then both teams in the fourth quarter scored 3 touchdowns because neither team scored in the third quarter. So it's still 10-10 going to the fourth. And then fourth quarter started out slow, and then both teams started exchanging touchdowns. It was 24-24. Texas Tech scored. I mean, not Texas Tech. Texas State scored with, I think, 125 to go up 30-24, and then they missed the extra point. So it's still 30-24. Then Arkansas State comes back and scores with, I think, 6 seconds left, and they make the extra point. And going into that game, Texas State was 3-1. So it's a small upset in a group of 5, but Arkansas State improves to 2-3 by defeating Texas State 31-30 on a Texas State missed extra point late in the fourth quarter. Troy defeats South Alabama 31-24. TCU defeats Colorado 35-21. Now, I've said numerous times here on the channel that I don't think Deion's a very good coach. I still don't. He's a 500 coach. Why everybody loves Deion so much, I don't understand. Yeah, he was a phenomenal player, but as a head coach, he's done nothing yet to impress me. Nothing at all. He does no effort at all at recruiting. He just goes out and gets a whole roster of transfers every year. But I do hate to see Deion going through all these health issues, so he may end up missing some time because he's struggling health-wise. But as a head coach, he's not good. But you never want to see anybody go through any kind of health issues. Kansas defeats Central Florida 27-20. And Memphis destroys Tulsa 45-7. Duke all over California 45-21. And Fresno State defeats Nevada 20-17. Now, I heard a rumor earlier in the week, might have been Wednesday, and sometimes you hear this stuff and it is just rumors, but sometimes you hear this stuff and it ends up being factual. They just try to say that it's a rumor when in reality it's factual. But I heard a rumor earlier in the week that a lot of the Texas players behind the scenes have already given up on Arch Manning, and they've already realized that Arch Manning sucks, and Arch Manning is only playing football because his last name is Manning, and that he is garbage. So a lot of the Texas players are supposedly already ready to see a new quarterback because they have no confidence in winning with him. And I've talked about that here on the channel. You know, Arch Manning was a Heisman contender when the season started only because his last name is Manning. He's done absolutely nothing, but just because his last name is Manning, he's a Heisman contender, and it's not right. It's not fair. You shouldn't be voted or be a contender for anything based on your family history. It should be all about what you've done or what you can do, not just, oh, that's your last name? Oh, you're going to be great. Your last name doesn't make you great. Being a good athlete makes you great. And I'm just not convinced Arch Manning is a good athlete. I think he's decent, but nothing impressive. But if the Texas players have given up on him, I can understand that. But it should have been obvious to me last year because for whatever reason, even though I thought Quinn Ewers was a good quarterback, none of the Texas fans and none of the Texas media liked Quinn Ewers. I don't know why. All the guy did was win, but nobody liked him. And the fact that he got hurt and Arch Manning started playing, and then as soon as Quinn was cleared to play, he gets the job back, that should have told everybody right then, okay, Arch must not be any good because, you know, if everybody hates Quinn Ewers and Quinn Ewers sucks, then he's going to lose his job to Arch Manning. So either you got to admit that Quinn is better than you give him credit for, or you've got to admit that Arch Manning is just not good because not just Steve Sarkisian, ain't no head coach in America at the quarterback spot going to say, oh, you know what? That backup, he might give us a better chance to win, but I ain't going to play him. I'm going to stick with what I've got. Anytime a coach plays a quarterback, he thinks that quarterback gives him the best chance to win. But as all my years of watching football, I've come to realize the backup quarterback spot is always either the most loved or the most hated position on the field. And I do think Quinn either got drafted in the 7th round or he signed with somebody as an undrafted free agent, but he has not played yet, BR14. I'll try to look that up as soon as the video's done, but I do think he signed with somebody either late in the last round or an undrafted free agent, but he has not played yet this year, and I'm not sure he will, but Quinn is still better than Arch. I suck, but my last name's Manning, so love me anyway, Manning. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My friend said he didn't understand cloning, and I said, that makes 2 of us. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.